Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kessler, and we ask ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So, in today's episode, I am joined by the one and the only Miss USOA, Miss North Carolina. And I gotta say, before I bring her on too, I'll tell you, I was in New York City, and this was during the time when I had my Jumbotron in New York City, Times Square. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Rudy Giuliani and the US Surgeon General back at that time. And I remember walking in, it was day one. We are at the New York City bar, and I sit down, and then somebody comes up and she sits right next to me. And I look to like my left just a little bit, like, like almost like you're sitting in class and you like look over, you're like, okay, I see all my like new students in here, like, hey, hi, what's this whole vibe and room all about? And I just vividly remember because me myself, being only 25 years old, I'm like, hey, I'm mostly the youngest person within this audience. And I look to my left and I'm like, this girl right here looks to be about my age. So I start to spark up a conversation, and come to find out, she was one of the guest speakers that my mentor had come to the New York City bar to just speak and just talk to us, take pictures with, present awards with. And it was Machaela here. So, hi, Miss Machaela. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for so much having me on today.
Yes, no, and thanks for coming on because you've taught me a lot. I know ever since we even saw each other within New York City, you came out even to my Nashville event where we had our Money Multiplier Mastermind experience at. And ever since then, just our relationship has evolved and blossomed. That I know your boyfriend, and we kind of vibe on that wavelength of the aviation community because my family comes from that background.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the most incredible event ever. I wish I could have stayed just the one extra more day. I know that would have been so beneficial, but that's why I was like, we need to do this. We need to talk about it and connect ourselves together to both our different worlds and kind of conjoin them. And I love this.
Yes. Well, and then because back then you were Miss New York and then you made the transition, now you're in North Carolina and you just won one of the pageants that was out there. Is won that the correct word that you were out there and you strut your stuff and you were doing it and then now you are Miss USOA of Miss North Carolina, right?
Correct. I actually won my title. I had to compete for it, and I was against all these incredible women. But I will say that my journey is always right now because there's nationals coming up as well, where I'll get to meet more incredible women. But like you just said, strutting our stuff on stage, that is literally only like the 5% of pageantry that's all about. And, very it's the most recognized, but it's also the smallest portion of what we do. So it's funny that you say that, and I love it.
Well, talk to me. Okay, when you first got into pageantry, how old were you?
I was 18 years old, so a lot of girls out there that are in the pageant game would have said I'm kind of late to the game. But I've also met women this past weekend that I competed with, and actually one of them had won the title of USOA Mrs. North Carolina, and this was her first pageant ever, and she was in her 30s. So
Hey.
people start from all ages, whether you're 4 years old or you're 30 or you're 18 or you're 50, start at any point in your life.
Yeah, yeah. And now because now correct me because I am just ignorant to this whole world because my background is I was a volleyball player. I was playing in school, I would play club ball, and I'll tell you one of my most favorite memories is actually Pops traveling around with me, going to nationals and all my tournaments and different things. But when and why are folks and gals getting into pageantry? What is it that they love about it? I do understand, hey, it's the confidence. I mean, just building up yourself and just knowing yourself on a deeper level. But really, what is the purpose? And I guess why do you like pageantry so much?
Well, like you said, not only the confidence, because I personally got in because I hated who I was in the mirror. I had zero self-esteem. I could not love who I truly was. But getting into pageantry, I first started the reason to actually get into shape. And then my coach said, hey, you should do pageants. I was like, okay, sure. And like you, I was a basketball girly. I was like, I am highly competitive. That's just my way and personality. But through pageantry, I got to actually build a deeper level of appreciation for all the women and hearing all their different stories because not a single story is the same. I will 100% that. But it's not only knowing that, hey, I want to be competitive, but in the best way. I can build friendships all across the world. But it's not just the confidence boost. And it's not just saying, oh, I get to put on makeup, sash and crown, and a dress and feel pretty. No, it's the inner, deeper level. It has to do with our volunteer work, our platforms. What do we truly believe in, and how we can put that out into the world to make it more memorable and more knowledgeable? Such as myself, my platform is called Inspire Your Desire, where I help people find their passions by making an impact through volunteer work. And I'm even meeting with the mayor recently to even create an Inspire Your Desire Day to promote more people to go out and volunteer. But it's not just like, hey, this is my thing that I'm doing. I'm actually making an impact. I even had the volunteer fair day, and I had 200 students, and I had over 24 nonprofits come together. And basically, how I like to word it is my platform is the welding tool between two chains, the people and the organizations, to bring them together to make that beautiful necklace, to make that beautiful piece in the community. Because as you know, and as everybody knows, everybody in today's day and age is going to chase that dollar rather than find what's really passionate about and how they can use their money of what they do, but also feel passion. And so I know that's on the deeper level for myself. But I know women out there that have gotten into pageantry for the scholarships. We get a lot of scholarship opportunities depending on the organization. And that's only typically if you are in the first runner up or you win. And it depends on the organization. It depends what you're truly passionate about realistically. And not only that, but also sponsorships, things like that. There's a whole world of different avenues of why people get into it. That's why I got into it, but it's very helpful. And I know it is beneficial. It's changed my life 180, and I will recommend it to any person out there, whether you're like, that is not for me, do it once. You
Yeah.
don't know how many opportunities they'll come to you.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of teaches you things too, because what I was thinking about talking is, I was involved in Girl Scouts when I was younger. And then obviously, Girl Scouts, all the Girl Scout cookies, and it kind of teaches you about sales, it teaches you about business, inventory, handling money. And so even just y'all going out there and needing to ask for, not needing, but just wanting sponsorship money. I get it, having to talk with them, negotiate with them, how to get in contact with the mayor of your town. I mean, that's a skill and a life lesson that a lot of adults don't even have.
Oh, absolutely. And it builds interview skills because the biggest chunk of your scoring for when you do to go to compete to become the national title, to become the state title, even become a local title is the interview about you. And it's not about like, oh, how she formed to fit us. No, it's like, does she already fit us with what her passion and beliefs are, and what has she done in her marketing plan? So there's so much that goes into it.
And hey, before we get into it, so for my people who are interested in getting into pageantry, competing, where do they go? Do they go locally? Are there specific websites that they should go check out?
Absolutely. My thing when I first started out pageantry, I just did a nice local one. But truthfully, I highly recommend date the organizations.
Okay.
And I mean, when I say date them, look them up. And there's a whole page called Pageant Planet and things like that. You can look up different organizations that are in your city, in your state, and you're almost like, hey, do they align with my beliefs and values? But I will say one that is, no matter what your platform or belief in, for my organization, USOA, they fit with any woman out there, no matter what you are doing. I went this weekend, women of the medical field, women who are trying to help our planet and the economy, women who, like myself, just want to help others volunteer, and also the homeless shelters and stuff. So no matter what way of life you are, I know USOA, and realistically, they represent every single state out there. So I love that what we stand for. We're all about inspire, empower, and uplifting. And that can resonate with anyone out there because no matter what you believe in, I know those core values are within you. And if you're very interested and you live in North Carolina, we are having a state pageant again coming up probably this fall, winter, spring. Anytime, just I would 100% go out there, do it. Even if you just say, I actually met a woman, track back, I actually had met this incredible woman this weekend, her very first time. And she said, I'm doing this. I don't feel like I'm going to be a pageant girl. She goes, I'm doing this to better myself. And I was like, wow, because of her story, she goes, I just didn't feel like me anymore. And I wanted to explore a new side of myself. So take the risk, take that little challenge. Even if you're like, it's not for me, take it. It's going to change you in a way that you like, wow, I did that. So USOA is the organization to go to. And as you can see, it benefits you in the best way possible.
Yes, ma'am. Snaps for that one. Now, obviously, my listeners know that we're going to get deep into, hey, the financial costs of what happens when you are getting into the realm of competing, pageantry. And no matter if it is pageants or, volleyball like myself, or soccer tournaments, basketball tournaments, all sports, walk of life, it doesn't matter because there is some financial constraints and financial responsibilities that you're going to have when you get into that whole realm. And before I kind of nail down some of the bullet points of, when it comes to the pageantry space itself, of what it costs, let me ask you, when you first started competing when you were 18, was it you putting up the cost? Did you have your own job and you were the one funding it all? Did you lean on your parents? Like, talk to me there.
Yeah, so when I first got into it, I will say because of my age and I was 18, my parents helped funded me a little bit, but organizations will advocate you to get sponsors. That is the hardest part of it. And realistically, there's not many sponsors people out there that are willing to like, hey, I'm going to help actually fund you. So most women are actually funding themselves. I would honestly say about 80% of the pageant world are funding themselves, whether they're leaning on their parents, they're leaning on friends and family, because a lot of people have friends and family that come and donate, or they're just using their hard-earned money and just going towards it. So that's why I mean it's so meaningful when someone actually becomes, oh my gosh, they won nationals. Oh my gosh, they won states, because then they got a little bit more support from that part of the organization. So I know I funded it myself, but am not myself, but my parents helped me. I'm more so funding it myself now. Sometimes I'll get a little bit help here and there, but that's another part of why people say, you know what, I thought I was interested. And I know a lot of women out there that are like, I would love to do this. I can't afford it. That is 90% of the time that I get from when I talk to women about pageantry. They would love to do it, can't afford it.
Yep, yep, yep. And for the sponsorships that are out there, let me just ask, because I am almost on like that giving end where, I have traveled around the country. Sometimes I will pay to get on people's stages, be that sponsorship and pay that sponsorship fee, or maybe there is no fee for it. But what do the sponsors get if somebody is interested in sponsoring some of these ladies who are going out there and doing this? Do they talk about it when they're up on stage giving that speech? Are they because you know where my mind goes to, and this is so
Hmm.
stupid, okay, don't laugh at me, but I think of sponsorships and I'm thinking of like NASCAR races, where they have the sponsor on the side of the NASCAR car, right? And so I'm thinking, how does that happen in pageantry?
No, actually, that's the best way that you just reference it for NASCAR. Because think of the NASCAR car, our ad pages, because we have to submit ad pages about, you know, who our faces, our platform, and sponsors and thank yous. who we think, and then everybody gets to read that within the program books. So, or posting on social media, hey, shout out to this sponsor today. Thank you so much for sponsoring me in this way. Blah, 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 blah. So that's exactly honestly how it is. A lot of women actually have each of their sponsors on their ad pages, but you see less and less of that now. And because organizations, if you're your individual self and you're looking for sponsors for yourself to go to a state pageant, you're not going to see much. Only realistically, national level or state level, the directors are the ones to get the sponsorships. And they're easy because then you can just put on the website and be like, hey, girls, come to use this sponsor. And it gets them to use it. 100% works. Eh, But also, the girls need to help get there to that point. They need help get to that point enough. So that's where I'm like, money and figuring out how to handle your finances, how to even get sponsors in the first place. Sometimes they can help you, like, oh, you could pay some girls out there to say their title, and they're like, pay $25 for this letter, which is, it's nice, but that's not the kind of way to gain the most out of your sponsorship or the most out of what you want. So that's the hard part about it, and the still tricky part that majority of girls can't figure out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, and I know there's a lot of costs actually when you really look into it. You have your wardrobe, and most of the time it's multiple gowns or swimwear, the fun fashion. And then obviously, you have your coaching. I mean, if this is the first time you've ever been into it, and two, it's just like sharpening the saw. All of us infinite banking practitioners, the reason that we get together one time a year, do I really learn anything new? No, but it kind of just brings me back to the basics of, hey, I could be talking about this a lot more, like within my business, within my people. So it's just going back in and sharpening the saw and the coaching that you have. Then obviously you got the travel, okay, the airfare, the hotels, the Uber, the lifts, the car rentals, different things. And then, you have the hair, which, speaking of Michaela, I still remember this. Clint asked you this question about pageantry, and I don't even remember what exactly that he asked you, but I remember you getting up there and saying that, hey, you probably don't know this, but 95% of the time, all the girls within that pageant, they have dirty hair. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. He asked me, what's the beauty tip? And that is still to this day. When I went to States, I made sure the day before I got my hair done. And like, I am now washing this all weekend. And it's because you can't tease it, you can't style it. It's harder. It sounds disgusting, but the dirtier the hair, the better. And a lot of people will say the opposite. But at the same time, I would say realistically dirtier hair, because like right now my hair is nice and clean and I can't get the volume. I can't get the actual style to form it. Now, if it was dirty, this whole thing would be looking fantastic.
No, it does. Because even myself, like when I curl it, living down here in Florida, right? We got the humidity. If I curl it on clean hair, no, it goes flat. But if I try to curl it on dirty hair, it will stay. I'm like, thank you.
Exactly.
So then you got the hair, you got the extensions that come from it. Or sometimes, let me ask you this, are some girls hiring out professionals for their hair, their makeup, or are they all doing it themselves?
Majority of women are paying for their hair and makeup. That ranges. It depends what level of the artist's skills are at. But realistically, I know for if you go for a full week, you're gonna be paying 15 to 3,000 for hair and makeup for that whole week. If you're just gonna be paying for, let's say, the weekend, you're still looking at between 700 and $1,500. And that's for, realistically better work. Now, I was able to get, if I ever have my girls, I'll have my girls. But I was trained and I had to pay to get trained to figure out how to do it myself for appearances, for anything I need to do, whether if I have nobody that I'm like, I'd rather do it myself. I know my face better. Get trained. I think that's the most beneficial way to save your money right now. It's still costly, $300 to $500 per session, but it's worth in the long run rather than paying those $3,000 payments at each pageant.
Hey, money multipliers, pardon the interruption. If it's been a while or if you've never seen my presentation on the money multiplier method, what we also call the infinite banking concept, click this link right here, themoneymultiplier.com/presentation. It will take you to my 90-minute presentation on this powerful information that can drastically change your financial future. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, every time. I've been thinking about doing that just like on a personal note because living down here in Florida, coming from Kansas City, I'm like, what is a good foundation that like won't melt off of my face when I go outside? And I've been thinking about walking into Ulta and saying, hey, can I like have some help here? Can I just sit down with you for like a little bit and can we go through these different shades and different products and stuff? So for my girlies out there, seriously, I've been even thinking about doing it.
House labs.
House labs. Wait,
I'm telling you,
isn't that okay, Lady Gaga? Isn't that her
yes.
brand?
I
Okay.
use, so for me, myself, because I also, when I competed in the past, like we're about to go to Nevada, and that's going to be hot.
Yeah.
So I know makeup for Florida and the hotter weathers, because typically nationals is typically in the summer times. You're gonna have the hot weather. So products that I know that works really, really well also are house labs. But if you're going for like a very soft look, use like Ilia skin tint that's very soft. But always layer it. What I do, and you can see like it looks really like flawless,
Ah,
is that it's a Makeup Forever foundation stick. You put that on, you blend it in, and bam, it looks like you just got totally transformed. And I love that. And it doesn't melt off.
yeah. Hey, hear me out. As you were saying that, they should really put in the curriculum, yes, money tactics and money habits, but also for us women, just how to apply makeup, how to do your hair. So I don't know about you, like my mama, she sat down with me, she was teaching me how to use my curling wand and how to use the curling iron and then how to curl it with the straightener and all that stuff. But like some women don't have that person within their life to teach them all this stuff. They got to go to like YouTube University and figure it all them out for themselves, you know?
That's why we pay some girls like myself for the hair and makeup lessons to figure out how to apply it. But make sure before you pay for that, the person's worked on you.
Mhm.
They don't know your face, it's not typically going to be the best.
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody, but I'm telling you, it's the cost
Yeah.
is
There's a lot.
undeniable.
With then you got the shoes, you got the nails, you got the tan, you got the ad page that you were talking about, the state fee, the national fees. Then you got to do your headshots and your whole portfolio there, the donation gifts, the hotel. So there's so many different costs that are going into this realm that people just need to be aware about. So, with that being said, and for my people who are listening on the podcasting platforms, this would be a good idea to shift it. Go to themoneymultiplier.com on YouTube. And I'm going to share my screen here because I really put together something that I want to talk about of how to implement utilizing your infinite banking policy within just the scope of pageantry itself. And with this, Machaela, because I'll ask you this here in a second too, but how I really came down on these values and within this idea of it is yes, Machaela here, but then also thinking about when I started my first policy at 18 years old. And I'll tell you all quickly, I mean, when I was 18, I remember it was on my birthday. I had a shift at Cracker Barrel, and dad comes in after my shift. I worked the 7 to 2 shift. He picks me up. We go down to Commerce Bank in Olathe, Kansas, and he says, hey, we're going to close out your savings account and you're going to take that money and you're going to start your first whole life infinite banking policy. And back at that time, I didn't know everything that I know now. And I was like, okay, dad, I'll start this stupid life insurance policy. Sure. Right. And back then I was saving up about $100 a week. Now, given at Cracker Barrel back at this time, I don't know if they still do it now, But back then, I would get paid out in cash every single shift. So what I would do is I'd take that cash and I would literally have an envelope within a shoebox that I would keep that money in. And then at the end of the week, I'd go down to the bank and then just cash it all in to go put it into my bank account. So I knew that I was saving for myself, where I was putting away about $100 a week, which equates to $400 a month. And so dad says, okay, if you're saving $100 a week already, that's where you're going to start your first policy is $400 a month. And so this is actually a real example. I'm actually using one of my first policies that I started, the first one I should say, where I put in the 400 a month, which equates to $4,800 a year. And I was utilizing the system. And the only difference of what I'm going to show here is that instead of it just being like the pageant cost, mine was my MacBook computer that I had to go purchase for myself when I shifted out of the Cracker Barrel days and started getting into the business with my pops. But it doesn't matter what you're buying within your life. I'm going to kind of walk through the reasons of why I have this total 180 mindset shift of how I'm utilizing the policies to go and finance for these different things in my life rather than just paying cash for it. And y'all, too, I wore my F is for my F word shirt today. And using the F word is finance, okay? Because here's the basic element that people need to get is that money is nothing more than just a means of exchange, okay? And what we do with this money, sometimes people will do things with money that they would never do with things that money buys. But I digress from that conversation. We don't have to go there right now. But when it comes to the pageantry space, most of the time people are paying cash for these items and services. I don't know, are people sometimes bank financing it or like maxing out credit cards? Do you know, Michaela?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I know I did. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I was paying all my credit cards and just saying, here's my money. I need this. I need this now. Or, there's very rare that, people will pay in installments and layaway plans. Some people do that. For like state pageants, they'll put like $200 there, then they'll do 200 the next month and things like that. But it's pretty much all like instead of cash, it's like here's my credit card, and that's what they use.
Okay. Okay. And let me ask you this, for each pageant, roughly, I know this might be just a rough estimate, how much are you paying for each pageant, would you say?
Specifically in the past, it depends what level you're at.
Okay.
You're going for a nice local title, then it's not going to be that much. It really isn't. You're not nationals level yet there, so it's not going to be that much. Probably typically, I would say truthfully, maybe you're financing a total with everything, probably close to 1,000, 1,500. You are going into states, and I'm talking about everything. We're talking about the sash gown, we're talking about hair and makeup, we're talking about everything here. I know this for myself, for for this organization, it was very nice to just pay for states, and my whole national trip is basically getting funded. So that's something that is, a nice look at it for the USOA system that, hey, they're funding that. All I have to do really is pay for states. But for states, you kind of have to have the money to get there. And not just saying they're going to fund, they're just funding your trip. Okay, they're not funding the gown, they're not funding that. So that's the hard part. You can get sponsorships, but at the same time, it's not going to be your 100% complete funding. It can cost, but I know girls that have competed in different organizations that are paying over 10 easily. Easily. I know some girls that are paying 40 to 50, and some girls are paying for the whole year as a national queen, and they're funding definitely around 50,000. I'm talking about 50,000.
Yeah, yeah, girl, that's a lot. Honestly, I
Hmm.
didn't think it was that much. What? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, depends, where they're where they're putting their effort and time into. Some girls are, and a lot of people, instead of they are like, hey, I'm not going to pay that $10,000, $12,000 for that new couture gown. Let's see if someone's selling theirs on like Facebook Marketplace in these groups. There's some ways to save money, but still, like if someone's worn one dress of a $10,000, they're not going to expect anything less than six or five.
Yeah, yeah.
So either way, it's still highly expensive for these type of wardrobes and stuff. And I will say, people say, oh, it doesn't matter what you wear. It does a little bit. You got to present yourself in the way that you're supposed to. You're not going to go on stage wearing a prom dress.
Mhm.
No, you're going to go on wearing a pageant dress. There's differences.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, wait, quick thought.
Yeah.
Color. Does color matter?
Color, it depends color to you.
Okay.
Now, I wouldn't go out on stage and wearing this pale pink dress.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
ain't gonna happen. Because that's not, I mean, or I would say even a darker nude kind of dress, that's not gonna happen unless without some bling. So color does matter, to your complexion and seeing, oh, does that color, when they're judging you and stuff, the judges are judging you, they're saying, does that work for her? Doesn't matter your shape, body size, or anything. That's another thing. It doesn't matter anymore. You can be any size, shape, body size, anything. They're going to look at you and say, does it compliment you? Or did you say, right in the comments, girl, choose another dress?
Yeah.
And not like based on the how much you spent on the dress. It's saying, does it fit you? Like to the best of your. So color matters, but for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because even one thing that my mentor's been teaching me about is just bright colors. When I've been doing a lot of these TV interviews, how you stand out and what do celebrities wear? Celebrities wear bright colors. They're in your face. And I had this real life moment this past weekend when I was in St. Louis. I was speaking at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Shout out Mr. Dustin Heiner. If y'all don't know Dustin, go and follow him and Master Passive Income and hit their podcast that they do. But I remember that we were taking this big group photo and you could see me because I had this bright red blazer on and everybody else was in blacks and blues and, very toned down colors. And that's the thing too, you want to be bright and you want to stand out. And that's probably the same thing within pageantry. You want to stand out from the other contestants that are there competing with you, right?
Absolutely. Like even for our interview portion, bright. I'm not gonna go in and wear a nude outfit. I'm gonna wear something that's not, and I'm not gonna wear black. Typically, you never really would wear black in the pageant interview. It's coming back a little bit now, but typically it's like bright colors. You want to stand out, be memorable. Gown on stage, as long as it sparkles, if it's a neutral, then that's good. But otherwise, you're doing a TV appearance, you're doing something like today. I'm wearing the bright red because what is something that you want to do in appearance? You want to say, hey, I want my voice to be heard. I'm bold, and that's my personality, and that's what I'm fitting into because that's me. But you just, like how you just said, you're the one that stood out because of that. And that's when, if you're going to go on TV, you're going to go do this big crowd appearance, you're going to go speak to kids, the attention. You're going to say, I'm going to wear something that's going to grab attention and be memorable in. And that is important.
Right, that's right. No, you're a wealth of knowledge with this. So, what most girls will do within this space is that they will ask for sponsorship money is one way that they can fund it. Another way is that, hey, mom and dad are helping them out with it. Another ways is that they are actually saving up their own money inside of like a checking or a savings account, funding for this passion and this desire that they have to compete. But in my humble opinion, I think the best way to fund for this is through a whole life policy designed for immediate high cash value. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time right now. I think I'm going to record an episode here soon talking about getting back to the basics of why whole life and the differences between a commercial bank and a mutually owned insurance company. But just real quick, just to give the bullet points, why I feel that a better way to store the wealth is inside the policy rather than the bank is because number one, In the policy, I get a tax-free growth. Okay, so I get tax-free growth in my policy versus taxable growth at the bank. Now, I will add in my policy, I get a stronger interest rate than what I do down at the bank. I don't know about you, but my bank accounts aren't paying me more than 1%, honestly, you know? So in the policy, I get a stronger interest rate and it's tax free. I do get dividends too, but we don't even got to talk about the dividends right now. And then on top of that, I'm in control of that money. I'll just say this, if you really think your money's backed up by the FDIC when you leave it down at the bank, we got to have a come to Jesus meeting right now because that's just not the truth. But we'll digress. We won't get into that right now. So those are just some of the features. On top of that, it's protected. Okay. So the policy, I have protected money in here. So God forbid if I ever get sued, I have a judgment or a lien against me. No one can come after the money in my policies, but they can come after my bank account. And then I do have a death benefit because it's not an if it happens, it's a when this happens that I have this death benefit money that can get paid out to my beneficiaries. And Machaela, you and I, as of right now, we are not married, okay?
Nope.
We have people within our lives, our partners and things, but we do not have children. We're not married. So if I were to pass today, I have some charitable organizations that I would love to leave my death benefit money to. So it's just creating that legacy, that generational wealth to that individual or the organization that you want to leave it to when that time happens. Because again, it's not an if it happens, it's a when it happens. So let's just make believe that I have been saving up and I've been saving up $100 a week. $100 a week equates to less than $20 a day, y'all. So are you worth $20 a day? I hope the answer is yes. So in this, I just kind of crafted this together just to give like a quick visual example on this. But let's just start over here on the left-hand side. Okay. All this is time. I have your 1 to 8, your 9 to 13. And then I have my age column. I just said, hey, let's just start this at 18 years old. Now, I will say you have to be 18 in order to own a policy. But for my parents who are listening to this, I mean, my dad has started policies on me when I was a little girl. So you can always start policies on the children or those people who are under the age of 18. You can own this policy and they're the insured person. So the death benefit is just on them. That's the only difference, is just who the death benefit is on. Now, let's say in this example that I am paying myself first and I'm saving up the $100 a week. So $100 a week equals to $400 a month, which equates to $4,800 a year. So this policy, think about it as it's nothing more than just your glorified savings vehicle because the premium deposits that you put into this policy, number one, you get to decide how much you want to put into your policy. And then when you put that premium deposit into it, immediately, my definition of immediately is within 30 days, you have a cash value that's available to you that you can take out and use for whatever you want, whenever you want. So, in this example, I just said, okay, I'm going to start this policy. I'm going to put 400 bucks a month into it. And then let's just make believe that in the fourth year, I want to get into this pageant, and this pageant is going to cost me $10,000. Now, one thing I'll say, I would never have you wait until the fourth year to start using the cash value that's in the policy. Because reminder, I told you that the cash value becomes available to you immediately. And my definition of immediately is within 30 days. But I'm just doing this just to isolate the pageant costs here. So let's say when I'm 21 years old, I want to go and I want to fund for this pageant that I want to get into. So this pageant, let's just make believe, is going to cost me $10,000. So what do? I pull the $10,000 from the cash value that's available inside of the policy. So I take it out, I go pay the hairdresser, the makeup artist, I go buy my dresses, I go buy my shoes, I buy my airfare travels, my hotel lodging, et cetera, et cetera. And then I do it, and let's say I win, okay? Because we're all winners here, okay? So I pay for all the expenses. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I want to play honest banker with myself, pay myself back, and I want to charge myself interest. Do you have to pay yourself back? No, but here's a good lesson, y'all, specifically about money. Treat your money just how you treat the bank's money. Because if you don't, all you're saying is your money is not as valuable as the banker's money. And that's just not the truth. So treat your money just how you treat the bank's money. If you borrow from yourself and your own privatized bank, don't you think it's a good idea that you should pay yourself back and charge yourself interest? Yes, but most of the time we don't do it. So you need to be disciplined and pay yourself back and charge yourself interest. So in this example here, I just said, okay, if I'm going to borrow 10,000 from myself, I will pay myself back $180 a month. $180 a month comes out to $21.60 a year. Machaela, are you following me up to that point?
I'm following you.
Okay, good. So now I'm just going to pay myself back 180 a month or 21.60 a year, and I'm going to do it for the next 5 years. So
Mhm.
now at the end of it, once I paid all of it back, what I did is I put back the $10,000 that I've taken out from myself, plus I paid myself back little extra monies of that extra interest of $800. So
Hmm.
I want to talk about just what happened from year one to year eight here. Year 1 to 8, what I did as my premium deposits, the 4,800 times 8, that comes out to 38,400. So I put in 38,400 into the policy up to this point. Plus, I put back the 10,800 that I put back for the pageant costs, but I did take out 10,000 for the pageant. So my true net injection, if I add up the 38,400 plus the 10,800 and I subtract the 10,000, my total cost that I spent on this policy is 39,200. Are you following me up to that point, or do you have any questions?
I I'm gonna ask a question for the other girls out there that are looking at up to this point and are thinking, wow, I could put $400 in a month, but I'm also funding my college right now.
Yep.
And so what do they use it for both? Could they use it for both? Or is there another way for these girls that, because the majority are in this range from 18 to 22 when they first get into pageantry for the scholarship opportunity for college. That's why majority of girls get into it, not only for the scholarship opportunities, but also thinking, I'm paying most girls are paying themselves for the college. How are they going to use that and say, if they still, I had many girls say, oh, I can't do pageantry now. I used to be in it. I love it. I miss it. And I want to get back into it. But I have to pay for college. How can they use this?
Because they could still use the cash values to fund for the college education as well. Because even like here in year four, when she took out the 10,000 from the cash value of the policy, she still had $5,900 of cash value that she could use in that policy.
Hmm.
So they can use the cash value for anything that they desire. But it just goes back to the principles of treat yourself as your number one asset, pay yourself first. And what I mean by that is when we're going out there and we're obtaining money, we go and we work for our money. When that money comes in, take a sliver of it. Take at least 15%, in my opinion, and set it to the side. Pay yourself first, and then go pay all of your other bills and your expenses next. And that 15% that you're saving and keeping for yourself, in my humble opinion, that should be the money that starts to flow through the policy. And then from there, when I make those premium deposits in, now I got the cash value that I can use from this policy and I can use it for whatever I want, like my college funds.
Now, also, as I'm a little bit knowledgeable about this, now could they say you're 18 years old, say, well, I don't want to keep them together. That's going to get confusing for me. Could they set up two policies, one for the college and then one for the pageants?
That's it. They could. And I have some families who do that. Do I personally do it? No, because I just kind of look at my different policies as it's like a branch office of my bank. It doesn't matter which one I go to as long as it's got cash value in there. But for some people who just like to be very structured and organized in that way, I got families who will say, hey, this policy is going to be for the kids' college education. This one's going to be for our taxes. This one's going to be for the family vacations that we take every year. So you can have those multiple policies set up for specific uses, you know?
Okay, perfect.
So with that being said, I know we're getting into math here, and math is not everybody's favorite subject, but I'm telling you, it's very easy once you see up here on my screen. Okay, so if you take the 38.4 of our premiums that we put in, plus the 10.8 that we paid ourselves back, but I got to subtract out the 10,000 that I took out from this policy, our total net injection for the 8 years comes out to 39,200. That's the total that I put into this thing. But I'm sitting here in the 8th year with 35,818 as cash value that's inside of this policy. If you take this 35,000 and divide it into 39,000, you just got back 91 cents for every dollar that you spent on that pageant.
Mm.
Now, I get what some people are thinking. They're like, Hannah, I'm just not understanding this stuff. I don't get it. How is the money in the policy still growing even though I've taken out the $10,000? So here's a big aha moment, okay? And this is the big reason why. If me personally, if I have my investor glasses on, this is why I own 8 of my own policies. But when you start to filter the money through the policy first, you're never losing out on the uninterrupted compounding interest that this policy is buying you for the rest of your life. Because here's what I mean. Let's just make believe this is like a $10,000 bill. If I had this $10,000 just sitting inside of like my checking or savings account down at the bank, and I go and I just withdraw the $10,000 and I just pay cash for this pageant, the money's gone. It's left my hands, it's left my family forever. And in order to get that 10,000 back inside of my pocket, earning me interest down at the bank, I got to go earn it. I got to go work for it somehow. So that's why we use the policy, because when I'm taking out the money, I'm not withdrawing the funds out. I'm taking out a policy loan. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that death benefit, the death benefit of the policy up for collateral, and I'm borrowing from the general funds of the insurance company. So that's how and why my money still remains in the policy to grow and compound as if it wasn't even touched.
Yes.
I know that's a big 180 mindset shift for a lot of people to get over, because let's just be real. I mean, I graduated high school in 2017. It wasn't that long ago. They didn't teach us next to nothing about money. So it's just utilizing the power of uninterrupted compounding interest to still go out there and finance for the things that I want to buy, while and at the same time having access to the money and allowing it to still grow as if I'm not even touching that money. It kind of
Oh,
making sense? Or what are you thinking about?
no. My thought is questions anybody else would be asking, not just for myself, because I'm like, oh, I already know. But somebody else that's looking at this be like, well, Hannah, you just said in when I wanted to buy year four, I wanted to pay. So I took that 10,000 out and I paid myself 10,000 plus the 800 interest to me. And they're thinking in your head, well, okay, I paid that. Now, how is it going to grow from there besides myself paying back the interest? How is the insurance really making me more money or
Yeah.
this policy?
Yep. Because here's what's going on. That 10,000 never left our policy, because in the policy contract itself, we get a guaranteed interest rate. We get a guaranteed interest rate that the insurance company has to give us each and every year. And we also get dividends, but I won't talk about that. But we get our guaranteed interest rate, and we get it tax free to us. And when I'm taking out the money, I'm not withdrawing the money out. I'm putting the policy up for collateral. And now I'm taking a loan from the general funds of the insurance company to use their 10,000 in the real world. And that's how and why my 10,000 still remains to grow and compound as if it wasn't touched. So to really answer that question straightforward, in the policy contract, you get a guaranteed interest rate, and that's just not my flapping gums telling you that. That's written inside the contract itself, that the insurance company has to pay you each and every year.
Yes. And now, also, there are companies out there for insurance. Some people have different organizations that they're with already. Now, could they do this with any, or does it have to be with a specific one? And if they already started, say, the moms out there, I've already had my life policy for 30, 20 years already, and I don't want to give that up because, oh my gosh, but what do you say to them? Say, no, you need to switch over to now this, and then you gotta start now. What would you say to them when they've already been doing it almost not the wrong way, but almost the incorrect way if they wanted to really make the most out of each dollar?
That's it. That's it. More so expanding on the purpose of the cash and the financing rather than benefit. Because that's what a lot of people think about. Life insurance is just for death benefit. It's not for me, it's for my heirs, the next ones that come up in line. But if you have an existing policy, whether it's whole life or sometimes people will have those IUL policies. IUL just stands for Index Universal Life. Send them over to me. Honestly, send me an email. My email is my first name, Hannah, spelled the same way, forwards and backwards, Hannah at themoneymultiplier.com. Send that policy over to me and I'll give you my feedback. I just put myself in your shoes and I'm like, okay, if I had this policy, what would I be doing with it? But to answer that question, if you have an old, matured whole life policy that maybe you started, your parents started on you, or even your grandparents, even if it wasn't designed specifically for this high immediate cash value, what's called this infinite banking concept, if it's got some age and maturity on it, you could use this policy because it's got some cash value, some equity that's inside of there that you could be taking out and using. So just take a look at what you have if your parents or grandparents did start one on you. Now, I will say term life, no, it does not build up any cash value. It's just like renting insurance, right? That's how I call it. It's just like renting my insurance for me. But that's what I would really do if you have the whole life or IUL policies. And just holler at me for that.
Absolutely. So anybody, whether they're mom, whether they're 18 and trying to start their own one and they'd have no clue what company to use, where to start, or what to do with their current one that's already in effect, send you an email and just say, hey, where do I go from here to get on board with what we're doing here, what we're talking about today?
That's right. That's right. Like our one friend with the State Farm policy, right?
Yep.
Now, now, because time goes on, I'm going to want to get into another pageant. I mean, I had so much fun at the last one. I want to go and do it again. So I just said that, okay, year nine, when I'm 26 years old, I want to do the same thing. I think I want to go out there and I want to start another pageant. Doesn't matter when it is. I'm just using this for my example here. So let's say that this is going to cost me another $10,000. Well, where do I pull the 10,000 from? I pull it from the cash value that's inside of that policy. I take it out, I go fund for all of my expenses. And then now, once I got first place in that one too, because we're all winners here, now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pay myself back. I'm going to charge myself interest. I'm just going to pay myself back the same 180 bucks a month. And so, what happens from year nine to year 13 after I keep paying myself first? Okay, so rule number one, pay yourself first. Those are the premium deposits that go into the policy. Rule number two is pay yourself back and charge yourself interest. Treat your money just how you treat the banker's money. But when you do all of this, if you really look here from year 8 to year 13, you've put in a total of $12,400 from year 9 to year 13. Okay, so if you add up your premium deposits, year 9 to year 13, that comes out to 11,600. Add the 11,600 to the 10,800 of what you paid yourself back. But I got to subtract the 10,000 that I've taken out. So my total net injection from year 9 to year 13 is 12,400. I put 12,400 into the policy from year 9 to year 13, and my cash value grew from 35 to 58. With the $12,000 net injection, your cash value just grew over $22,000. And that's really the power behind this stuff. And what I really want girls to get is that the whole thing with this is that get the policy as old and matured as you possibly can, because the older that it is, it's just that compounding effect that happens. I don't know if you've heard this, Machaela. Have you ever heard, hey, would you rather have $1,000,000 or a penny doubled every day? Have you heard that question before?
I have, and I actually was asked this in high school. And when they asked us, majority, I would say roughly like 70% said, I'll take the larger amount, obviously. They take the $1,000,000. And then though actually it was the male students and some of the males that really, they knew their history, they knew their economics at the time. It was just those ones, very little bit. There's like one, two, or three of them in the classroom that say, no, take the penny and double it each day. And because you don't know that's going to accumulate to well over that $1,000,000.
That's right. That's right. That's it. And that's all it is. And not to sound cheesy, but there's a man by the name of Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein says that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. And so, us not learning about this, and that's a whole other rabbit hole that we don't got time to go down, but there's kind of a reason why they don't want to teach the American public this stuff. But because I've been always a consumer of the commercial banks, I've been paying out all of that interest to them and making these bankers a good living. So now I'm just going to flip the script. I'm going to make my deposits into my bank, and now I'm the one who's going to earn the interest, the profits, the dividends, rather than the bankers making a good living off of me. So, just last thing that I'll say, actually, two things I'm going to say before we close this little screen out. But with this is not just a traditional whole life policy that you can go buy off the shelf, right? It's got to be designed specifically for high immediate cash value. And that's what we do over here at the Money Multiplier. All my listeners know that already. But if you don't even like my vibe, I even give y'all this resource. If you don't want to work with me and my company, go out to infinitebanking.org. There's a practitioner's finder on there, and you can look up a whole bunch of IBC practitioners here within the nation. So just make sure that it's designed properly for this concept. But last thing I want to say is that I just want to take a look at what happened over these 13 years because honestly, 13 years goes by pretty darn quick in our lifetime. I mean, 13 years ago, I was 12 years old, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So if I have my calculator up, and Machaela, you can see my calculator on my screen, right? Or no?
You cannot.
Okay, here, hold on. How's that?
Yep, there we go.
Okay. If I punch into my calculator, I want to know how much in total have I paid into the policy up to this point over these 13 years. So I had 38.4 plus my 11.6 plus I put back 10,800 for the first pageant and I put back another 10,800 for the second pageant. So my total I put in is 71.6, but I did take out 10,000 for pageant 1 and I've taken out 10,000 for pageant 2. So my true net injection into the policy is 51,600. I'm just going to redo this share real quick. 51,600 is my true net injection into this policy. And I'm sitting here in the 13th year with 58 and some change as cash value in the policy. So I just paid for two pageants and I got all of the money back for the two pageants that I paid for. I mean, is that cool or cool? You know?
That that is amazing. And now my question on top of this, let's say, because there's a pretty gap here, and some girls say, wow, that's pretty reasonable, like, like that little gap between two. What if you have those girls that are saying, I'm doing this every year?
Yep. Yep. It just means, hey, if you want to be more aggressive with this, start with more premium. More premium just means more cash value that you can do something with. Hey, if I don't want to do $100 a week or 400 a month, I want to go smaller than that. And I don't want to do $10,000 on a pageant. I only want to spend $6,000. Go smaller with that. I mean, this is the freedom of you get to decide what you want to do with this whole banking system because you have the freedom and the control now to do what you please.
Oh, absolutely. And I love this. And then, if you were in an organization and let's say really like, I'm ready to go fund this, I'm ready to go do this, but I need that extra support. And realistically, this is not even extra support. This is saying, I'm getting my money back. Like, yeah, I funded this, but I got it back. And that's what's important rather than, you know what, here's my dollar, take it. Like, here it is, and that I'll never see it again. And that's what's happening right now. And so this is the beneficial and really the smartest way to go about it, because every organization you're going to be paying something, even just yourself for what you need, no matter how much you're saying, I'm trying to save, I'm trying to save, I'm trying to save. That is the number one key thing I hear all the time is, I'm trying to save up, I'm trying to save up. I'm like, yep, but you can use this and your savings are your premium payments
That's
that
right.
are already in there. So you don't even have to worry about it. You could be just saying, yep, give it back to me. I'll pay it back in little increments, here and there. And oh, look at that. I just made, oh, and it had built interest on it. The policy already started to build interest besides what I paid back. So that is fantastic for any girl that is out there looking at this. Now, I know for myself that, USOA is just so amazing because realistically, whether you're appointed or you won your state pageant, that you have now said, well, yeah, I that's what I love about the system is I didn't have to pay a whole nother fee. So that was so beneficial for me. But that doesn't mean I'm not still paying. You're paying somewhere no matter what in pageantry, no matter what organization you're in, no matter what, where you say, you know what, this is going to be the cheapest to spend in this pageant. Well, doesn't mean you still can't use, whether you're just paying for the dress, whether you're paying for anything, doesn't mean you still can't use the system in, or no matter what you're saying, oh, I'm just going to go $500 in. There's never just $500 in a pageant.
Yeah.
I'll say that straight up. There's never, ever, ever. It is a cost. It's no different than girls out there saying, I do sports.
Yeah.
It is no different. And it's not, I would say, yes, it's a competition, you build friendships, but thinking of it this way, when you sign up and how you did volleyball, you did not only pay for probably, let's say you did private lessons, you wanted to get the best experience out of it. Oh, I had to pay the school to be on the team. Oh, I had to pay for the uniforms. Oh, look at that. I had to go buy my own volleyballs to go practice at home with my girlfriends. Or, oh, wait, I now need this water bottle. I need these knee pads. I need this.
Oh,
It adds up no matter what. It is different programs. Oh, I'm going to do this program now, but I'm going to do a summer program too here. It just adds up. And it's the same thing with pageantry. It's, you think, oh, it's just this one thing. Or people say, I'm just paying for the state pageant. You're not. Hate to tell you this, you're not. And there's so much more that goes into it. So it's no different than the girls out there that are in sports, that are in pageantry. But realistically, this is the best way where if you're struggling out there to get your sponsors, if you're struggling, not even if you're struggling, this is for if you're just doing it. This is not just saying, hey, it's my last resort. I really need the extra help. This is like, no, you should need to start this no matter what. And it's not just saying you have to do 100% go by your word. Let's say they say, I want a second opinion. They can go out there, like you said, go in a infinite banking system and check out everybody out there to say, no, you need to do this. And this is going to be the most beneficial for you. Now, my question to you is when you were talking about, majority of the pageant girls out there too, once we hit 18, we can start the policy and stuff for ourselves and own it. But for the moms out there, I'm thinking about the mamas out there because they're the ones funding their little ones, whether they're little kids or whether they're 16 and they're still funding for these girls. Now, I know some girls out there that are each, and it's not just saying, oh, I'm doing a pageant, I'm going to keep the same dress. They're paying $10,000 or even $4,000 on a dress every single pageant they do. And I know girls are doing 3 pageants a year. Now that's crazy to even think about because you're just thinking, oh my gosh, all that money. But for moms out there that let's say they're thinking, okay, well, it's too, let's say that I don't need it for myself. Let's say that they're not on it, but hey, my daughter does this and this would really benefit her. Now, what does the process to say, does mom get to pull it out before she's 18? Or what can they do about that? Because I'm thinking, oh, they can start it, but I bet mom can't touch it because it's for her. Or, I have to wait till she's 18 to even touch this.
yeah.
So how does that go about?
No, good question. Good question. Because, yeah, no, they can. Because like even for myself, like when Pop started policies on myself, my two brothers, he is the owner of that policy. Owner has 100% control, is responsible for that policy. They're the ones who pay the premiums, and the cash value is made payable to the owner. So they're 100% in control. So essentially, mama would be the owner, daughter would be the insured individual, so the death benefit would be on them. And then the third moving component to a life insurance contract is the beneficiary. So the beneficiary is the one that comes up in line when the insured person passes. So mamas can definitely start policies on their children to get into the space to fund for this. And here's another little factor too. Could they even transfer the ownership? Could they teach their kids about this stuff so that when they are mature and they're ready and that they can take on their own responsibility for paying premiums, that ownership can get transferred over to that child? Because, hey, y'all, we just talked about pageants directly. I mean, y'all were going to go pay for the pageants anyways. Now that you know a smarter way to do it, wouldn't you just do it through this system? But what if it's not pageants? What if it's a down payment on their first house? What if it's their first car? What if it's the expenses for the college education, the car expenses, the apartment living expenses? I mean, anything and everything. Now, what you're doing when you run that money through the policy, you're turning that liability into an asset and that depreciating asset into an appreciating asset because now you're using the power of the uninterrupted compounding that's happening. So long-winded answer, but they can. They can use it. Use the only rule is you got to be 18 in order to own a policy.
Absolutely. This just sounds too good to be true,
I know,
as a
girl.
lot of people would say. So now, anybody watching this, that all moms, all pageant girls are out there. Oh my God, this sounds amazing. And then there's always that little voice. Oh my God, is it too good to be true? What do we have to say about that?
Yes. Well, because my family was there too. I'll save us the time. I won't get deep into it, but like my father first heard about this in 2006 and didn't get started with it until 2008 because he thought it was too good to be true. He was a big Dave Ramsey's baby step follower. And if y'all know Dave Ramsey, he's big into buy term and invest the difference. Whole life is like devil. I get it, right? So I get it. Here's my response to it. Go to the source, what's called, it's a black book. It's called Becoming Your Own Banker. And it's written by a gentleman. His name is R. Nelson Nash. And Nelson Nash is really the gentleman. He didn't invent this concept, he just brought it to the public's eye. But go research that book, read it. I would also even investigate what are the Rockefellers doing? What are the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, these elite top wealthy families? What are they doing within their lives and how are they keeping the money within the family? This is exactly what they're doing. If you've ever heard of the Rockefeller waterfall method, hey, they use whole life insurance. So a lot of different layers that we could get into, but I get it. My family was there. That's why it took us 2 years to start this stuff. But my biggest plea is just investigate it. Think for yourself and question and just do your own homework and do your own research.
Absolutely. And I want to also thank you again for having me on and getting to talk about this. Like you said, this is not your avenue, but I'm glad that we got together because I said this needed to be said. This needed to be done because no one's hearing about this. And I thought it needed to be heard and used for my area and the girls I know in their area of expertise, which is pageant world.
I know. Hey, and how can folks support you and your Inspired to Desire? And how can people get in contact with you?
Absolutely. The best way to get in contact with me is I'm always on it is going to be mainly through Instagram. I'm always on it. I'll always reach back out to you, that Facebook. But realistically, just DM me, text me, tell me about yourself. So like I said, my platform's Inspire Your Desire. And I also have two different pages. I am United States of America's Miss North Carolina. There's that Instagram page, is very easy to find. That's my official page. My personal page is just my name. Not people might know how to spell it, but it's right there, Machaela Kozlowski. And you just look that up, and you can't miss it. It's my headshot, it's my everything. But get in contact with me because Inspire Your Desire is about the volunteer work, and it's futurely now going to become a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, which I'm very proud about that. So that's in the process. But realistically, if you're saying, hey, I love that idea, I love what you stand for, I want to get passionate, I want to help others find their passions too, and really just build more of a volunteer community, because we lost over close to half of it during COVID of our volunteer organizations. So if you're saying, I want to help you, I want to do this, I travel a lot, I can do it in any states, we can host a Inspire Your Desire Day, talk about how to make it more official, talk about how to get people more volunteers out there. But realistically, if you want to also follow along my journey to the crown, I got nationals here in, oh my gosh, like 35 days. So if you want to also follow me there and support my cause of Inspire Your Desire, but also support the organization of USOA, because they're so passionate about the same thing, the volunteering, what we stand for, the inspire, the empower, the uplifting. And we're not talking about our pageant girls. We're talking about the people that we impact around us. Because all our girls out there, every USOA queen is out there saying, I'm going to spread the message, not only what I believe in with my platform, but the organization. But not only just that, I'm going to talk to the kids. I'm going to get on these news segments. I'm going to go meet the mayor. They're doing something. I'm doing something. So anyway, even if you're saying, hey, I'm watching this and I have a connection where I want you to meet this person, 100%. That's how I met Hannah in New York.
Uh-huh.
It was on the whim. We were like, hey, do I trust this? Do I trust all this? I traveled. It worked out. I met incredible people there with amazing connections and networking. And it's not just that, but it's just the impact you're making. That's why we wear the sash and crown. Like you said, when you're talking about the colors, the sash and crown makes you, whoop, there she is. She stands out more, but it's what we say and how we act and how we present ourselves that is real and the importance. And we don't just do it to do it. We're very passionate about this, like myself. So please follow both of those pages. And if you're interested in doing pageantry and getting involved, you don't have to be just living in North Carolina to do so. You could be in any state. Contact me. I'll love to direct you to what USOA is about, the pageant world, and it'd be nearly impossible if you don't fit in the realm of USOA. But let's say if you don't, I'm willing to help. But USOA is truly the best organization. They take, actually, this would be nice. I mean, Miss Hannah, come on. They do not only teens and a Miss division that goes up to 28 years old, but they do Ms. for the unmarried if you're above that. Or if you are also a Mrs., you've had kids, you're married, and I've seen all different types. I've seen doctors, lawyers, I've seen women that just go out there advocating in the real estate world, anything. You can do whatever. And if you just want to say, I just want to experience something new, do it. Yeah. Do it, because it's going to be so beneficial. And we're going to Vegas. I mean, I'm going to Vegas, and we're going to do that, but I'm telling you, it's the very small parks right now, working every single day, doing 2 different kinds of events of a day right now till nationals. It is so impactful, and I'm not just doing it to do it. I'm doing it because I actually care and I want to. So please, just long story short, I know I talk a lot, but go follow on my Instagram pages, my Facebook. Both pages are wonderful because even though I share very similar things, it's always the same message, but also a different viewpoint. So I love and I would appreciate that, because not only you're following along my journey, but I also, if you know somebody to know somebody to know somebody, I'm willing to be there and help. I'm not the type of person to be like, nah, don't talk to me. I'm only here for this, da, 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 da. I actually show up. As Hannah knows, I will show up. No matter what. I'll do my best. I can. Sometimes I got other things. I'm like, hey, I can't, but what's next thing? What can we plan in the future? What else can we do? So I'm always open to different opportunities anywhere. I can travel wherever you need me to be, but I'm just here to not only make the impact, but also be myself.
Yeah. Hey, no, I'm actually very interested. You and I are going to keep talking offline, and y'all, I will put all of the links down in the show notes down below. But I know this was a longer episode than normal, but seriously, I just want y'all to get a lot of value and impact out of this because there's a lot of value add, no matter if it's coming from the money business side or the pageantry business side, I should say, of it all. It's at the end of the day. I actually said this when I was in Tampa. I said it up on stage. I said, hey, money doesn't buy happiness, but bad stewardship of money can steal your happiness. And that's all it is. Money is just a tool, it's just a resource so that I can go and enjoy the things in my life and that I can fill up my cup, but then also fill up other people's cups. That's all we're trying to do is just build up the community. So, USOA Miss North Carolina, Machaela, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for all my listeners, hey, I will be back next week on Tuesday with another episode. Ask me questions, okay? If you want to leave a comment down below or send me an email, podcast@themoneymultiplier.com. You'll hear from me. But other than that, enjoy your day. Do well. Be great. I love y'all. And I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoyed this content and you want to check out last week's episode, click right here and it'll take you to the previous week. So thanks for tuning in. I will see y'all next Tuesday. Catch you then.